Hi, guys. I'm Dr. Jenny White, a dentist in Sarasota, Florida, and her fearless patient, Susan, with our new and exciting podcast, Open Wide, Be Careful What You Tell Your Dentist. Over the past 25 or so years, I've been sitting in a little room talking to myself all day, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through that process, which I want to share with you. We are two women in our mid-whatevers who want to have fun and talk about our daily lives in a Seinfeld kind of way, although we admit we are far from Jerry Seinfeld in the humor department. We hope our podcast casts optimism and fearlessness to you so you can remember that you can rise to the top, stay at the top, and dream bigger than you've ever imagined. So on today's show, the soup du jour is, why are we doing a podcast? And Susan, I'd like to introduce you to everyone and just kind of get your take on why are we doing a podcast?
Okay, so by way of background and for clarification, I'm the patient, you're the dentist, and I've been going to you for years. And like all dentists everywhere, on one particular occasion when I went for some treatment, you put 14 things in my mouth, including several things that were developed in the Middle Ages, like a torture. I'm not kidding you. And put all these things in my mouth. And that's the point we start asking questions. What do I think about the war in Syria? What do I think about the Boko Haram insurrection? And like these very deep questions where you can't really answer, right? So one of the questions you said was, wouldn't we have fun doing a podcast? Would you like to do a podcast? To which point I grunt, which is a way of saying this phlegm in my mouth, Jenny, can you get it out before I choke to death? And then the next thing I know, I'm sitting here with you doing a podcast. So this is a long-winded answer to the question of, I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that we have a lot to say and we have fun with each other and fun along the way. And hopefully we can impact that to the people who are listening.
And I think, along with having fun, I like to grow. I'm constantly listening to podcasts, trying to better myself, listening to my patients, learning from everything really that happens in my life. And I thought I need to step out of the box, get into a zone where I know absolutely nothing about it and give it a shot. And especially because we've had all these challenges in the recent years. I mean, this is 2025. So in the recent past, there have been health issues for everyone, financial issues, losing people we love, general chaos in the world. And yet, every time you would come into the office, and for a lot of my patients, there's this optimism that keeps us going.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, well, that optimism could be ingrained, like in our DNA, but I think a lot of it can be learned. And I've learned a lot of it through people such as you. I mean, you just continually rise to the top and maintain that optimistic attitude. So for me, the reason is to do this podcast is to have fun, grow as a person, and let everybody know that you can rise to the top, you can stay at the top, and you can dream bigger than you've ever dreamt.
Yeah, I want to build on something you just said too, which is that, we're living in really turbulent times right now. It feels very stressful out there. And at any point where somebody can tune in to listen to us and feel optimism about what might be ahead for them, because we've lived through several decades of ups and downs. And so we have some institutional knowledge, if you will, and a way to approach life that might be helpful to others. So I really feel like this is a timely podcast, for everybody.
Absolutely. And even just a little thing, like someone maybe having a bad day or just feeling down in the dumps. It's not, catastrophic or whatever. Maybe they're watching too much news, just to give you a little oomph to say, turn that TV off. Let's focus on some of these things. Maybe we can do some of this. And, in the dental office, I see a lot of the aftermath, if you will, of stress in people's lives. So clenching their teeth breaking, fillings popping out, crowns popping off. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with if someone walks in and they're like, oh, I didn't sleep well. And oh, I've been watching the news and I've been watching this and I've been watching that. And oh, and here's my crown that popped off.
Yeah.
It all goes together.
Sure it does. Yeah.
They're not separate things.
Yeah. I never thought about it from your perspective before, but I'm a teeth clencher myself. And Yeah, and that comes from someplace, and you see it. It manifests in the mouth a lot, and you see it more than like other people might. Yeah,
Right. I'm kind of I'm front and central. Or is that how you say it? Front and central? No.
center, I think.
It's
Yeah,
front and center.
center
The
will work too.
front and center. We'll go with front and center. So, a couple of things that I do every day that have helped me immensely when I get really, really down or I don't see optimism in my life. And yes, even though I am an eternally optimistic person, there have been moments in my life where I've struggled. One of the things is every single day, I kind of have a ritual that I go through. And I happen to use Tony Robbins' priming video. It's about 15 minutes. It basically runs you through everything from gratitude to being thankful to everything that's in your life. Life happens for you and not to you.
Mm,
Visualizing things that you want to have happen, whether it's to get me out of this depression, to win the lottery, whatever it is you're visualizing. And there are so many days when I don't want to do a routine like that. I want to wake up and I want to keep the covers over my head and I don't want to go through things, but I make myself do that routine. And I'm telling you, it's built a muscle in me.
yeah.
It really has. It's built a muscle. And I don't know if you do anything, Susan, daily or weekly, or have anything that you kind of turn to.
I do a couple things, but I've just started to do something that you taught me. You taught me to one of your podcasts told you to get out of bed in the morning and look at the sunrise instead of going right to the iPad or your computer. To get up and do something that's nature related, and I've started to do that, and I really notice a change in my attitude in the day when I do it that way. But you seem to have a more sustained routine than I do. I use a humor a lot in my life to try to keep optimism up and negativity at bay. So I can listen to radio stations that've got comedy on them, or I have comedy channels that I listen to. I love that way to sort of lift me up. And the other thing that I do is I meditate a lot, and I meditate and manifest a lot. And I'm sort of really good at manifestation. I didn't know it, but I can really concentrate on things that I need in my life and they show up. So maybe in a future podcast, we can talk about manifestation and the power of that.
Absolutely. And meditation, I'm a huge fan of. I don't care whether you call it prayer, meditation, silence, whatever term you want to use. I think just taking a few minutes every day
Yeah.
and just shutting the brain down and just recognizing the brain, but saying, I need to just be quiet for a minute
Right.
so I can think. That's a huge way to turn around.
A lot of people don't do it too. A lot of people don't know how to meditate. In fact, it took me a long time to figure out how to meditate because I couldn't quiet my mind. That happens to a lot of people. Like there's so much going on in your head that
Right.
you have to quiet it down. And there's techniques to do that. Guided meditation is lovely for that too. So, yeah.
And so we do all these things, and then it's funny. Oh, and in my home, I feel strong. I feel like I've got it together. I feel like, yeah, I'm ready to conquer the day. And I open the front door and I go outside, and something happens. The tire on the car is flat, or the newspaper didn't arrive, or like the little challenges of life, little minor things. And you'll be driving and the traffic is horrible and you're running late and this, that, and the other. And that's when you get tested. And these little tests come up and you're like, I'm not going to worry about the newspaper. And I'm going to take, if you're lucky enough to have two cars, I'll take the other car. I'm not going to worry about that flat tire or you just kind of ignore what's going on. And then you find yourself around 2:00 ready to explode and scream and take it out on someone when it's been this accumulation of all these little things. But if you center and clear your mind initially, you're able to handle that stuff as it's happening and kind of get not let it accumulate, not let it stick,
Right.
if you will.
Yeah. And it's a learned process. It really is.
Absolutely.
It's not something that comes naturally to most people. You have to really learn to concentrate on, I'm not going to let that bother me right now. I'm going to concentrate on something positive.
Right. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to. And so for me, I was determined. I love a challenge. And so when I found myself really down or unable to dig myself out of a hole, I said, I'm not going to live my life like this. I'm not. I want out of this hole. And I want to know there's going to be another hole. I'm not saying that my life is going to be holeless, but I don't even think that's proper English, but I am from West Virginia. So who's counting? But I don't want to live like that. And so I was determined to find a routine, find little ways, find little phrases, find little sayings to claw myself out of the hole. And that's kind of how I got my start. I started, God, years ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Good for you.
And it's just sort of accumulated. And so the interesting thing is I'll be working with a patient and we'll be talking about who knows what, an issue that happened to them or an issue that's happening to me. And they'll say something and I'll say to myself, oh my gosh, I've never thought of it like that. Or, huh. And then that leads me down that rabbit hole. Like you may say to me, I like to meditate.
Yeah.
If I don't know what that is, I start Googling. Like, what is that? I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll throw it out the window. It doesn't work for me.
Right.
But I was just determined to not stay in a hole.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say then is it's really up to the individual person to make a decision that I'm not living my life this way. I don't want this kind of pain anymore. I don't want this kind of fret anymore. I don't want this kind of stress anymore. And once you realize that you want a different kind of life, then there's these techniques that you can use to sort of get you there and keep you there.
That's what I'm choosing to believe.
Yeah.
And that's what's been true for me. And I feel like some people, I don't want to discount depression. Some people are clinically depressed and need medication, and there's a time and a place for that. I do believe inside of every single person, there is a sliver of optimism. There is that sliver of hope inside everyone. It's a matter of shining the light on that so that can grow. And yes, learn techniques, learn strategies, try and do everything that you can yourself so that you have kind of a toolkit. So when things hit you that aren't working, you go, oh, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to try and get out of this.
Yeah. And looking for communities of like-minded people is really important too. So we're two women, and a lot of our subjects, I think, will be women focused. And so finding a community of like-minded women is very important for that kind of support system that somebody might be looking for, but any community for that matter, just get involved, and here's another thing. Once you start helping somebody else, you automatically feel better about yourself.
That is such a great point.
It's really important. So volunteerism is just super important, not just for the person who needs the help, but for you too, because you feel better about yourself doing it.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, a lot of times in the dental office, and I know I keep bringing it back to the dental office, but that's pretty much been my life for the last forever years. Helping people, helping them find a path to fix a problem has brought me so much gratification. It's why I continually go back to it, and I'm happy to go back to it.
Yeah.
I genuinely want to help people. And if I can help a little bit with whatever other issue they're having besides dental, hooray.
Yeah.
Or if someone can come in and they're in a down mood and I can lift it, hooray.
Which you do in spades, Denny. You're so good at that. I love going to your office, not just because I get great dental care, but because I have such an uplifting experience, and I have so much fun that you are really good at that. So,
Thank you.
So I think people
Susan.
really seek you out for that reason.
Well, and I think our friendship formed because I just loved your humor, number one. And I mean, it's fearless humor, and it's fearless optimism that you have. And I was attracted to that. And, what are the odds that while I've got 99 things in your mouth and your mouth is filling up with water,
Yeah.
and I'm like, let's do a podcast. And you say, okay, let's do one. What are the odds of that really coming to fruition?
Well, I think it's because we resonate at a high level, you and I together. And so when I say seek like-minded communities, that's what I'm talking about, is looking for people who lift each other up and resonate at the same level. That's another podcast for another time, talk about what is resonation and high resonation, low resonation. But that's what I think we do.
Well, and I think too, back to serving other people, I think when you help people that are in need, the reward is 100-fold.
Yeah. Well, because it takes the focus off you, first of all.
Yep.
Because we can be so into ourselves sometimes. Oh, I'm upset because I wasn't invited to this or that or whatever. Get out of yourself, get into somebody else's life, lift them up, help them out, and then you'll automatically feel better about yourself.
And you're going to, if you're around like minded people, you're kind of going to gravitate your life to doing whatever those people are doing.
Right.
You're going to get together and do things rather than the opposite. If you're hanging with people that are bringing you down and not there to lift you up and support you,
Right.
you're going to be going down.
Right. So I know we have another podcast coming up on toxic people. So I encourage everybody to listen to that too, because we're going to talk about how to remove toxic people from your life so that it doesn't suck out all your energy and all your joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's going to be a great show. I'm really excited about that one. So, for me, growing as a person, this podcast is going to allow me to try and reach an audience with a thought, a large audience, hopefully more than one or two people, that with my thought. I've always been one-on-one my entire life. I've never spoken to anyone bigger than a party of one, or maybe two.
Yeah.
So for me, that's growth. For me, also just taking the wisdom that I've gathered all the years and verbally talking about it rather than just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. That's growth for me. So I think for me, I feel myself already loving this, growing from this, and I enjoy the heck out of talking with Susan. What would you say, Susan, this podcast is kind of doing for you?
You know,
Where you are.
I appreciate your point of view, which is it gets you out of your day-to-day shell. You know, I am doing something I've never done before, really. And so this is out of my comfort zone a little bit, but it also feels okay. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast that both you and I have accumulation of like, I'm not going to say thousands of years, but we have
100 years.
A lot of years of experience together that we can share with others because we're at a stage in our life where we've been through a lot and we've not seen it all, I'm sure, but we've seen most of it.
Right.
And so anytime we can provide guidance to anybody else or learnings to anybody else, or to your earlier point, optimism to anybody else, and that just feels really, really good to me. So,
and maybe one of the reasons we're doing this, I just thought of it, is to help people. Well, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm the helper, but possibly could that be one of the reasons we're doing this?
Yeah, I think there's no question that would be a nice outcome of this podcast, is that somebody says, well, I can relate to these two, or they're imparting information that's helpful to me. Who knows? We better hope that we have at least a couple people who are listening we can help. But yeah, your point is, and I agree with, you never know when somebody was like, yeah, that's me. Like I resonate with them, or I understand them. I've been through that same experience. So
right, yeah. And also to give you some tools, some tips along the way that have worked for us. I mean, these are tried and true things that are actually working, that we do, that we practice, that we talk about, that we, brainstorm about, that are helpful to us, and just to spread that to you guys is really what we're shooting for.
Yeah. I agree. I think it'll be, and hopefully, we'll have some fun along the way, because we always do when we're together. And that would be a reason for somebody to tune in, just to have fun with us too. So
I agree. I agree. Well, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please share the show with friends and family and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way, you'll never miss weekly drops. Stay strong, dream big, and floss your teeth. The end.